Recorded December 13th, 2023. Good afternoon, Roderick. How are you, man?
Well, um, somewhat better today. So just so people, we talked about this last week. Edward and I had planned on being together in person in Houston today, in fact, in for a Houston area user group meeting. I was going to present on security of AI, um, but I woke up Monday morning, thought I could kind of push through, and I don't know. I feel still kind of haggard. Today's the day when the cough kind of starts. So, unfortunately, but fortunately, let's just put it this way: um, Edward delivered a session for the Houston area user group today. That, from what I understand, went extremely well, and the audience was really engaged, and it was a full house.
Yeah, I'm sorry you're feeling bad, man, when you called me. And first thought you were just going to tell me, hey, I'm going to be here and there. You're like, dude, I have the plague, the pox, the worms. I'm not going to be able to make it. It's like, what? And I was, no big deal. I got to talk to the event coordinators, Stephen from Invoke Technologies or Invoke Partners LLC, really cool partner. And I was able to pivot. The original topic, that you were going to present was going to be around security and AI and responsible use of sort or securing AI in a responsible way. So obviously I couldn't present that. So I was going to pivot to, talking about one of the products I support for Microsoft. But I ended up just talking about Microsoft Defender for Identity, the maturation of the product, and started to lay it off about ITDR, which is identity threat detection and response, and how MDI plays a part of that. Since I have done two previous things on it, it was very well received. You would be surprised. I thought it was just like a buffer session, get everybody warmed up because I went first this morning. How many people who are not familiar with the product? And I was able to go from 100 to about 300. We're spending, majority of the time on 100, say 50%, 25% on the 200 level, and the last, 25% of the time on the 300. We never got into full.
Edward, you've frozen on us. Let's see. Let's see. See if he comes back. All right, Edward. So from what I heard, it went extremely well. Noodles here, by the way. And Edward is frozen in time. Thanks for checking that out. Maybe he will have to reboot. I'll have to text him here in a second just to let him know. But from what I heard already today, and I also wanted to mention that I had a bunch of people reach out already that expected me to be there, but had well wishes and want to connect later. So I thought that was super awesome. So I want to tell all those that are listening in just to thank you for reaching out and again for the well wishes. Edward, are you back?
I am. No idea what
You,
happened.
you should probably not discuss where you are because those network issues would not look good on a certain employer that you.
I'm in the Microsoft office in Houston, but obviously, I am on my device and not on the corp network because it could probably filter some of that. Uh, it's just spotty. My apologies, but the session for those that saw me interrupted, session went well.
Yep.
Um, I think the 400 level that we didn't get into, there would be a social after the event, and people wanted to talk some
Hmm.
deployment scenarios, what to do behind proxy, things along that line. So,
Yeah.
quite a few Microsoft people presented. Ran into a buddy that I used to work with at Microsoft, John Wojan. He presented on Security Copilot. Another formal Microsoft guy, Gene, who's here, he's going to present on Modern SOC.
He's
Got
a
to meet
he's a guest and one of our old guests as well.
on the show. Yeah. Got to meet a very smart young lady, Camilla. She talked about SASE and Microsoft Security Edge and has agreed to come on the show to talk about it. and what that
Oh, that's
actually
awesome.
encompasses. And we pump the show up and should see more followers. People want to listen to the show. So, um, for those who don't know, Hasmug, Hilo, Alpha Sierra Mike Uniform Golf is a whole system center user group that's been around for a long time, right?
Oh,
And the
long
room
time.
was
Yeah.
packed.
Yeah.
Um, it didn't show it in the pictures that the event coordinator is showing. It's 100 people here. So we had to knock down two of the rooms, the things in the middle to be able to get it done. So good times. Other than you being sort of under the weather, man, have you done anything?
Actually, so yeah, I was going to take this week, right? Use the trip to Houston and then kind of sign off for the rest of the year. I'm still attempting to do that. We'll see what happens. But no, this week, because I was here, I think I mentioned this last week, but just to reiterate, next next calendar year is going to be super busy with travel and speaking and stuff. We have this Microsoft AI tour that's been rebranded from the Build AI tour that I have joined, and the sessions that I'm doing. So initially there were no security sessions. Somebody raised a whole heck of a lot of heck and got the security sessions put back in. And so we're actually creating the content for those security sessions for AI now, and we're going to start delivering those in January. So we're working on that content this week, which includes things like GitHub Advanced Scanning, also Security Copilot, and some other things, and a lot of stuff that I've been working on for the past year anyway. So I I wanted to just sit in bed and sleep, but that didn't happen. If I don't get this stuff done this week, then I'm gonna have to check in every day throughout the holiday, and I definitely don't want to do that. So I have been
Yeah.
working. There's that. Um, there's Edward, you mentioned yesterday, hey, you're still posting on social media. People don't realize I have most of my stuff automated. And the things that I say and do, I thought of them probably a couple weeks prior. And when you see it pop out there, it's something that's been scheduled. So it seems like I'm working all the time, but I'm not. I've been using efficiency for years, long before there was automation and AI. I've been doing my own thing. So
Yeah, I get it. I used to be a fisher. Now I'm just fish. Uh,
ah,
here you go. It's yeah. I'm trying to get some things off my plate because I really want to zero as close to no work, so sort of recharge for the next year. I did see your schedule, or possible schedule for next year. You're right. You're gonna make unattainium status level on a plane if you follow that schedule.
well, I felt
Um,
so bad when I went to uh, Seattle, 3 weeks ago now. I felt so bad because I walked into a Hyatt and they said, well, you've lost your status. We'll give it to you. We'll give you all the benefits, but you've lost your status at this point. And I felt so bad. I'm like, oh my goodness. So no, yeah.
did
Now
you
it's like
pull
a
that?
competition. I got to get them back.
Did you pull that? Do you know who I am?
You know who my co-host is on the
Yeah,
show.
that's right. Yeah. You know who
Yeah.
my co-host is? Andrea Fisher. You don't want me to get her in here after a glass of Chardonnay.
Um.
I'm doing that because I know she's not listening. What
Yeah.
matter of fact,
Poor Andrea. Poor Andrea.
Brody couldn't make it. He had a family thing that he had to go take care of. It's super important.
Family stuff.
Uh,
Yeah.
and I have no idea where Andrea is. So
I don't either. Oh, well, you know what? I did talk to her earlier. She was in a car accident last week and she's having to deal with that today. So,
I knew that. I knew she's okay for all our listeners.
yeah.
Some person hit her car and now she's just trying to figure it fix out. So I know that. I texted her today a little bit, but I haven't really
Yeah.
talked to her. But she's fine. I think she's just aggravated right now. This happening during the holiday season.
Yeah.
Um,
But she may have some
also,
super, super cool things to talk about when she comes back.
sure. Back to the tech piece, as she would say, bringing it back in. I haven't really done anything other than a bunch of evangelism, some demos, some labs.
But those are important, though. Don't discount those. Those are, yeah, super important.
Yeah, setting up my tech stuff and setting up my training. I am starting the study period to take uh, the SANS GIAC 508 course, the Advanced Endpoint Forensics, or as it's saying in you in the class, Hunt Evil. Um, I got some tips from Frank. Big shout out to you, Frank, co-creator of the pod, and that's my 2024 professional achievement. One of the three goals I'm going to do. I'm going to achieve that cert. Once I write the exam, which means go take it and pass, it should give me the designation of uh, GCFA, and which is a certified forensics analyst. Um, as I understand, it's one of the more difficult exams that they have. But if it wasn't difficult, would it be worth it? So we'll see.
Speaking of
Uh,
Frank, remember, did you see that email that he sent us today? They're getting ready to redo the SC 200 and they're asking
mhm.
for feedback. I'm going to put the link in the chat
Yeah.
so everybody has it.
So you have a chance to affect possibly the content of the new iteration of the SC 200 exam, which in itself, without actual experience, was challenging. I suspect even with verifiable skills, but not day to day operation in it, I don't see it getting any easier. Right?
They're just going to add XDR to everything. That's all.
Yeah, XDR to everything probably, and and that's good. I'm going to give some feedback on it on the plane when I got to make my trip back home. We'll see. I think you have until what's the deadline?
Let me look at that real quick. It is December 23rd. Have until the 23rd to participate. 10 days.
Yeah, 10 days. Um, yeah. Other than that, I'm looking at a couple of private preview things that are coming out around Defender for Cloud apps, the and a new set of updates for MDI. Let me give a couple of things about that since I've been presenting on Microsoft Defender for Identity a little bit, so everybody can go take a look at these.
Yeah.
It is a credential detection and now response mechanism as part of the XDR, which is part of the E5 security suite if you consume all of these things. But one of the more noticeable things, it's been out a while, it's not net new. It's about 5 updates. I'll give one of them that's pretty good. MDI allows you to create an account that can take actionable uh, task against a potentially compromised account. That's one of the highlights. So when you install it, that's pretty good. Number two, one of the nuances of MDI that it had a 30-day learning period that it watched your environment and wouldn't generate any useful alerting. Sometimes even in the event that there was nefarious activity, you now have the ability to turn off that 30-day learning period, which is good. Uh, a pain in the product is that you couldn't see past 30 days. Sort of in line to it takes 30 days to learn. You couldn't go more than 30 days back. That's been extended out to 180 days. So now you see 180 days worth of activity to be able to search. You're now able to search across domains, groups, and users. It's another good feature when you're looking for particular things that may not be manifesting in a Defender console natively. You still can go into defender.microsoft.com, go down to settings, go to identities, and look at the configuration, and you'll be able to see that. The other one last thing I'd like to talk about for those who want to go lab it out, put it on the main controller and test it out, um, is that you can now set high value target designations. So for those who don't know, you can really set this in some form or fashion. A lot of our products have this. They just have dissimilar names. And 365,
Yeah.
Defender for Office 365 is called priority accounts. C-suite, admins, people of high value who may either have access or keys to the kingdom, or one or two entities off from someone. Think chief of staff. You get them, you can probably get their executive that they are, working for. Um, and so C-suite, admins and stuff. And Microsoft Defender for Endpoint is called HVT. It's a high value target or a high value device. You can designate a device. Think of an endpoint that belongs to one of those high value targets, right? And so you could do the same thing inside MDI, where you can set up a high value target so that it gives additional consideration if it sees movement where that high value target is is involved. Think of it this way: I can go ahead and designate uh, Andrea, you, Brody, and myself. If I do it individually, then the heuristics and the learning is not as robust because it's only looking at activities around me. What it is actually doing is allowing you to set high value entities, saying that if I start to see a tremendous amount of nefarious activity between Edward and Brody, then that generates even more scrutiny. And then if you do it between the three of us, so it starts to look at the lateral movement potential of it. And you can also assign it against devices and everything. So it's something to go look at. And if you had to look at how it manifests in a sim,
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it a watch list, but it's watch listless. It had a watch list tendencies where you can designate significant artifacts and or entities. So MDI wise, not the most flashy thing in the Defender
Yeah.
suite. You don't want it to be. You want to install this product, and you don't want it to ever alert you, because if it does, someone is either playing around in your directory infrastructure with tools, like Rogue Master, running Mimikatz. Uh, you know, you don't want any alerts from it, right? You want it to be quiet. If you start getting alerts, those are some of the alerts you need to really take seriously. Someone's either playing around without authorization, or someone's playing around without authorization. So that's my MDI pitch, for use cases today.
That's awesome.
And have you guys, something Noodle ask a quick question. Have you got an MDS policy for ATP6 alerting? I would have to go look. One thing I would like inside of Defender for Cloud Apps, also known previously formerly as MCAS, is that it had a persistent threat actor designation list like you have in the portal that can look at ATPs and threat explorer and threat analysis and intel analysis. That doesn't sort of exist in there, but I sort of suspect that if it's part of the XDR suite, that telemetry is being passed along inside of it. So I know Noodle, ATP6, right? Us. We're actually Steel Team 6, ST6. And word on the streets, they're Shadow IT. Yeah, I heard their nefarious no good. And with that leader being Rod Trent. All right. So did we?
Yeah, before we invite our guest on, because this kind of sort of plays to our guest anyway. Next week is our next week, the future, which our guest actually lives in. We'll talk about that here in a second. Next week is our holiday episode. We have, I don't know, 1,000 people that will be here with us. We'll see how many actually show up. But
Yeah.
Noodle will actually be on camera next week.
Everybody's taking bets on what Noodle looks like. Does he look like a noodle?
Yeah.
Or does he look like a macaroni?
He needs to wear
We're
a
not
noodle
necessarily-
hat. Yeah, like a
when is Frank coming back to the show? I do not know. Frank called in rich. He doesn't have time for us lowly peons. So I talked to him on a regular. He's I may see him tomorrow. So he's always invited to come back on. He just has so much going on. And he asks how the show is doing, what we're doing. He occasionally listens.
he
So
does. He does more than you think. So and I
he
appreciate
does.
it. Yeah,
He
absolutely.
does.
So now that we see in the green room our guest is actually doing something, not paying attention, it's time to bring them on camera.
They
Here
don't
we
know that we're
go.
watching them.
Speaking of, our guest does live in the future. I believe it's like 7 a.m. there, or a little bit after now. Almost 7:30. So you should be fully awake now. Kijo, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi
Konnichiwa.
everyone. Konnichiwa. Yeah, it's hello in Japanese. Hello, Rod and Edward. Thank you for inviting me today. Yeah, I will introduce. So I'm Kijo Girardi. I'm living in Tokyo, Japan. So like Rod said, like I'm living in the future, like 7 a.m. On Thursday. So yeah, thank you so much for today inviting me again.
Well, I'd like to say thank you for, agreeing to come on and being accommodating of the time zone. I'm infinitely familiar, having spent a lot of time living in Japan and having family and friends there. I follow you very much so on LinkedIn. I love your posts. They're one of the most impactful and immediate use cases I can see. Your GitHub repository is on par with anybody, right? Uh, you make it available for advanced threat hunting, advanced forensics. We're going to put the link to it in there. Um, as such, we were talking about demos and stuff, and I'm like, well, you really don't want to run into the demo, but I would like to ask you a few questions. I know what you do, but what do you do? Can you give everybody, what do you actually do for a living that makes you write all these outstanding hunting queries?
Okay. So all right. So first, let me talk about what I'm doing every day as my job. Like I'm working in a fast track team, specifically focusing on the deployment phase. So I help the enterprise customer to deploy the Microsoft Defender XDR and other Defender series as well. So the objective is to deploy and make them happy, the customer. At the same time, like you said, I'm working on some GitHub repository, providing the out of the box KQL queries and also researching some cybersecurity. So the reason why I started these activity is I have the reason. So the first one is I really wanted to help everyone externally, not only my customer but also the other, the customer or even engineer who have the same problem or challenging. So the other one is I would say I wanted to grow my career, and I wanted to expand my knowledge and then the skill in terms of the cybersecurity. That's why I started the GitHub, and then every day I write the KQL queries based on the customer feedback. Also, I got some inspiration from the others. The queries. Number of the people are the main thing. Creating amazing the queries. So that's why I use it. Sometimes I take the query and then change some sentence, or combine with my original query with the other the query already done. So that's every day I'm doing that. Also, yeah, one more thing is I'm also working on the research note. It's not really the research like what everyone's thinking, but the research note, what I focus is something I learned day to day, and then try to output something I learned. So focus on the cybersecurity in general. The other one is like a more product specific. Oh yeah, thank you for
Mhm.
the sharing that my GitHub. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'll include the link too. Something's going on with YouTube. Looks like. Yeah, I'll include the link too. But hey, here's also a blog post on adversary in the middle. So there's a lot of stuff that you have out here that just really
yeah,
good. Yeah.
Thank you.
it's your blog posts are very tactical, right? Meaning, you could very few can you cut and paste and use right away, and I like that. You can go in and now saving all these advanced queries, either put them in the community inside the portal, or just put them in VS Code and saving them, whatever your saving manner of choice. But you have so many, so I'm going to ask the hard question. Of the work that you've done within the last 3 months. Let's not go too far back. What are your top five that you've written, or if you're tracking downloads, what are your top five that you see that people are downloading using? If you keep track of that stuff at all,
Uh, what's five the things that the
that people
audience.
that they go into your GitHub when you post it or something, they grab that one or their fork it or something, or the top two, whichever one.
Yeah, I'm stats hungry. I watch that stuff like it's the lottery, like it's the stock market. I don't know how many
Yeah,
people actually do that though.
yeah. Do you have a favorite that you write, or they're all your favorites, Kijo? He froze
Uh,
up.
Hello,
There
can
you
you
go.
hear me?
You're back. You're back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a number of the people will mostly visit the KQL repository rather than the product research node or research node, because they always are looking for the out of the box query, or they want to change a little bit some sentence, the code. So that's why first, in terms of the repository, they will definitely go to the KQL repository. But in a KQL repository, I got mostly the feedback for the endpoint, like they're more enjoyable, and then looking at the endpoint related to the query. So specifically Defender for endpoint, even helping the customer, I can see that the number of the people they are using the Defender for endpoint or more paying attention to the endpoint solution. So I don't have a specific out of the box queries, but I always receive the feedback regarding the endpoint related. The
Yeah.
other one is like I create 2 or 3, not cheat sheet, but quite a simple PDF to map the KQO action type, specifically related to the Defender for Endpoint web protection, to track the web content filtering, indicator, smart screen, network protection. These are URL network related activity. They're quite difficult to track because normally we don't know that what kind of the action type exists. That's why I just mapped it into the one PDF. I think 6 or 7 months ago. These were quite. I received great feedback, and then everyone access it.
Yeah, I wanted to share this again. I thought this was super interesting.
Sorry, you can go to the KQO learning
This one?
KQO. Yes.
Yeah.
Also, the recently I tried to change the old repository, so that's why a little bit different from the. If you guys visited last time, can you click the KQO effective use
All right.
and 08, I think 08.
This one?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Look at that.
Nice. Wow. For those that are not watching us live, you need to be watching us live.
Yeah, you need to. Well, I'll include the replay video here.
And zero, I think 09. Sorry.
There's
09.
Yeah.
Ooh.
This is
I love that.
It's super simple, but just I created 2 PDFs. One is to help them to understand how to track each different feature in the Defender for Endpoint. This time is like not really different action type. It's more like specifically looking at ASR roles in the Defender for Endpoint. But just the idea is to show the visualization. We can track them to understand the whole ASR roles activity by using the KQO, and look at it. You can see that how many the different role detected in your environments. It's like easy to understand the day to day, like so. That's why I created 2 PDFs. These are quite striked. Like I received a number of the feedback, even on LinkedIn and then other X. So I think that would be at the moment everyone busy to this part. I feel like, but nowadays I really changed the whole repository. I tried to reorganize the old queries. So now we are looking at this repository, but in a couple of months, I would say I'm going to change the repository. Now you can see the endpoint. Sorry, when you click the endpoint, this I have already done. And I'm going to announce the next week. To be honest, I changed all queries, specifically Defender for endpoint. So previously I received a number of the feedback. Like it's quite hard to see because I wrote everything YAML based. It's like really look like a detection source. But I tried to make everyone to use easily. That's why I changed to the MD style, and you can just really copy and paste. And sometimes I add the screenshots, like what is the expected result, like some caution, what's kind of the table we use, like really changed a lot. So
this is awesome.
Yeah, this is awesome. I have to say, probably, and Kijo, you probably agree with me, one of the best things that Microsoft has actually created in the last 10 years is probably KQL. because I think it's, and I'm not overstating that. I think this has been one of the things that has been much easier for our customers to learn, much easier for them to share, create things and share them with other people, and really kind of creates a sense of community, right? And enables you to reach out to customers, and you create one solution that all customers can use instead of having to try to figure out how to get it to everybody at once, right?
Exactly. I would say like I mostly commonly I receive the question from the customer passes 2 or 3 years like first when we have of course the Windows Defender ATP it's there is advanced hunting specifically for endpoint, and then we now growing to the the Microsoft Defender XDR, and number of the tables are conversion. It's okay, but the customer mostly say like oh, I don't know what advanced hunting is, what is KQO. And of course they try to learn first KQO itself, and also I learned KQO. By the way, I look at the KQO master learn. It's really helpful for me, by the way. I really have to say thank you.
I didn't pay him to
uh,
say that, so yeah, that's fine.
Actually there are number of the great resource KC7, of course the
Oh yeah,
KQO
right.
master learn,
Yeah.
and some webinars. The many. So I would say it's quite enough to learn the KQO from the beginning. But the another challenge is the customer say, okay, I learned the syntax and the basic grammar. So what's next? What's next? Do you want to take some specific data? For example, they have no idea. That's why like, oh, maybe it's time to create some the simple query, the out of the box query. You can just copy and paste, and you can change a little bit the code based on what you want, what you expect. That's the easiest way to share the and help them the indirectly. And also there are a number of the people amazing the queries. So I try to not to duplicate, and I try to focus on the really product specific. And then now a bit shifting the direction only product to some more looking at the specific detections. So that's what currently I'm doing. Oh yeah, this is I tried yeah 3 or 4 days ago. Yeah, it's a
Yeah, for
detective
those
agency,
just
right?
listening, this is new this year. Sans partnered with us and KC7, right, to develop a holiday themed KQL case, and it's actually pretty good. So it's Santa. Oh, I'm not going to show you. I'm not going to show you mine. I'm not going to show you the answers. You'll have to go do it yourself. But
Yeah,
I'll put the link, yeah, in the show notes. But this is pretty cool too. Yeah.
I'm just stuck in the case for now. Like I didn't. I think much of my understanding language, I didn't get it. The last question. Yeah, it's really stuck to this problem.
So I saw that in your repository where you had the PDFs. I was going to ask you, how often do you take your queries and turn them into workbooks, which looks like that's what you did, because I looked at the KQL and you had the render command at the end, which can drive you batty sometimes because sometimes the resulting data you can't render, but yours rendered well. Do you do that for all of them, or things that just have the most interest? Because I'm a big fan of workbooks because I love the visualization, really quick to see. And then if I can't really understand how you got the data to manifest, you just go to edit and look at the underlying KQL and you go, ah, that's how I learned. I really learned KQL from reading, must learn KQL, and then taking that and going and look at workbooks and opening up the editor to see, and like, that's how they did that. And you learn. So do you do that for all, or just little specifications? Because the more workbooks, the better for me. I'm a visual person.
Yeah, I would say yes, because the reason first I would say like these query is not the running every single day. Like we see that it's a mapping for the past 7 days, or even day-to-day detection is like a mapping for the 7 days. So we try to look back at what happened the past 7 days. But the reason I created this stuff for specifically just query is not workbook is um, my customer mostly using the Microsoft Defender XDR. So it's like more modern workplace. not like a theme, not
Yeah.
not Micro Sentinel. Micro Sentinel has, of course, a great capability, the workbook to visualize the all activities. But our side, like modern work, we still don't have these capability. That's why the customer using the advanced hunting, and of course we have the report capability to generate the whole raw data, the activity such as the alert, the vulnerability, everything. But it's not really customizable. So that's why by using an advanced hunting query, the people using only Microsoft Defender XDR, they can the visualize all activity. So of course, if they're using the Microsoft Sentinel, I have the access to the workbook. Yeah, workbook is one of the, of course, great way to track and then the look at the activities. That's the kind of thing. Of course, nowadays it's in a converge everything, and then you can look at it Microsoft Sentinel capability as well in Microsoft Defender XDR. But just I was talking about 1 or 2 years ago, it's really separated, and it's quite limited to access the workbook for the some specific customers.
Mhm. Okay. And
Cody has actually made a comment. I've heard this a few times. Um, I don't agree personally, but I've heard people say this, that Power BI is more, obviously it's got the name Power on it, more powerful. Maybe it is, but I seem to personally, I feel it's a little slower. Maybe it'll improve one of these days, but yeah, a lot of people do use Power BI, and you do have that capability, right, to be able to export and utilize the KQL queries and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
I don't
yeah,
know if you use Power BI or not, but
I think Power BI is tomato tomato. I think maybe Power BI is more powerful when you have more data at rest and maybe formatted in a way that you're not trying to discover anything, rather than you're trying to project it in a manner that allows you to make analytical
yeah.
decisions.
So I don't, I don't,
Yeah.
I don't see Power BI as a security team tool, a SOC tool. I see Power BI as a SOC manager tool. So somebody creates the Power BI, and then whoever loves the pretty pictures and just likes to be able to click on things and see very specific things. That's the person that uses Power BI.
I'll agree with you and disagree with you on this. I'll tell you who
Right.
would disagree with you on the security standpoint. Compliance people love Power BI. It allows them to be able to project processes, especially around, manifestation of things, processes, and where they are in, audits and stuff like that, and able to see. So in the security realm, not so much as threat and analytics, but when you're talking about compliance and process, they love Power BI because, you know, people out there still using Archer, which is nothing really more than spreadsheets, I think, right? And they're just manifesting that. So it looks like we lost our guest. So something is going on the big bad internet.
Yeah, he'll be back. I
Yeah.
just sent him a note. He'll be back.
Uh, Coldest said we use Power BI specifically for visualizing business data. We
Yeah.
use Azure workbooks for SOC operations. Best part about it, workbooks being able to go through multiple environments and quickly use the Azure Lighthouse permissions. Yes. Within Sentinel, though, they've gotten better. You can export that query to a Power BI, file to be able to then import it in. I'll tell you who on this podcast is a Power BI goddess. That sort of gives it away, right? Andrew's really good at Power BI. There she is.
That doesn't surprise me. Andrew is good at a lot of things.
I know, right?
Yeah.
She always makes my imposter syndrome manifest. So I gotta I
Well,
gotta
and
get more.
and 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 she always, I always get something on Teams from Andrea. Hey, you got 5 minutes? I'm like, sure, I got 5 minutes. I always have 5 minutes, but it's always like, it's always the hardest question in the world, and I'm like, oh
Oh
my
yeah.
goodness. So I'm gonna have to take. Well, thanks for the question. I'm gonna have to take some time to figure it out, and I'll get back with you.
She asks me that all the time. Ed, I'm folding space, and the temporal mechanics are throwing me off when I come in from the past, present, and quantum entanglement. What is the spookiness rate? Is I'm
Yeah.
like, I give it an answer 3. Okay, I thought it was 3. Should go right. Uh, we're ribbing you because we're just saluting your brilliance, Miss Fisher, friend and
Awesome.
buddy.
Yeah.
There she is. And so, yeah, I both of them have definitely use cases, but you got to realize they're definitely dissimilar thing. Which wasn't the gist of your comment. It wasn't functionality. It's just it was a personal. What do you think the most important thing?
Yeah.
Some people you said KQL. Someone said open source, which I believe was probably number one. Then Microsoft embracing the open source mentality of a sort.
Let's see,
Right.
where did that go? I think that was Noodle that said that, wasn't it? KQL. Yeah, there it is. KQL is awesome, but I think the best thing really to come out of Microsoft in the last 10 years is supporting open source. Well, KQL is open source, essentially.
Really?
Yeah. QRadar uses KQL. We've open sourced. You stick something on a GitHub repo and say everybody can have it, submit some escalations, and sure enough.
Well, educate me on this before we get back to our guest when he joins back in. Define open source, because I have a
There we go.
little bit of time visualizing how KQL is run outside
He's
of
back.
it.
Sorry,
Okay.
I think I kicked my Wi-Fi. Just, I'm so sorry about it.
It's fine. Time
Okay.
travel is hard. You have to come back into the past to redo your connection. And we
Yeah, I
were just
appreciate
talking about
Yeah. Appreciate you doing that
Uh,
twice too, because I know I've seen the movies. If every time travel just wears you out.
where's
Sorry,
your
I
out?
think. Sorry, it was correct.
I'm going to agree with Noodle. Open source for the win. You know, or the willingness to embrace an open source methodology and some of the ways that we're doing stuff. And if that's the case, then open source trumps KQL, because KQL is a resultant of open source.
It's true.
There you go.
Yeah, and KQL is supplied by Custo clusters, which is not Windows servers. It's what?
Well, in Azure, man, it's 70% of all the server class workloads are some flavor of Linux, whether it be Ubuntu, whether it be Red Hat. Hey, off topic, and then we'll get back to our guests on KQL queries. I was downloading a new distro to play around with, and it's CentOS, right? I did not know that CentOS has two flavors. It's a downstream and upstream. It looks like it's just a rebranding of Red Hat. Our Linux heavies can sort of educate me if I'm right or wrong on that, because I was going through, and when I saw something that said CentOS stream, it's just an upstream or a more beta version of Red Hat before it goes. But I did not know that. Good learn for me there. Alarm's going off. They start the podcast when I'm an hour behind, right?
Noodle said CentOS is going away, so I don't know.
Yeah. And who on the show would show our hands are fans of is Gentoo the same thing? Just a distro of CentOS, or is it separate? I don't remember. But I guess everything's going to be Red Hat for the world. We'll see. I actually installed a log collector early in the year to see if it would run on Fedora, and it actually worked. Did that just to play around with the customer. So back to our guests and talking about the KQL, things like that. We see the result in good work, and I may have asked this question. Can someone submit something via your LinkedIn to ask you for help, to say, hey, I'm trying to do this visualization, or I'm trying to write this query to get this? That's how you get ideas, or you just sort of
Be careful how you answer that. Yeah.
be careful how you answer, because you'll get, oh, so you want to help, huh? So
What's that LinkedIn profile again? There you go.
Thank you so much. So for mostly the source for the feedback is for from the customer, the engagement in a Microsoft work. So I don't really look at the LinkedIn, because the things is I try to separate the work and the LinkedIn. That's why I look at some message, but of course I cannot really the make it the query that what they expect. So that's why I try to look, but mostly I use their SNS, like LinkedIn and Twitter is for the sharing the queries and something I learned or the defenders news. So that's why just to look, but not really response, or just I would say make it well in the end. Try to do my best. That's currently what I'm doing.
Well, and I'm looking, because all of your stuff's on GitHub, right? So people can make comments and create pull requests. So that's, to be honest, that's probably the best way to accomplish that if someone has
I
trouble with a query or there's an
I
issue
do
with a query.
agree. Yeah.
Yeah. I see you do have one pull request right now. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to make an experiment to sort of come up to speed on some of this AI stuff that Rod, you and Andrew have been sort of playing with. Brody and I sort of lagging. I'm going to take some of these high performance Git places and use your content to create my training models, and then go ask ChatGPT or OpenAI see if they can write a query for it. Yeah, Rod, you probably already done that, grabbing everybody's stuff and throw it in and see.
What
But
do I
I
have?
don't.
So yeah, I
And I
have
just,
the KQL docs and the Azure Monitor data table references fed into my chatbot.
well,
Oh, that's cool.
I don't want to use it where the query, the schema, and the tables are the source content for it to think about doing it. I want to take proven queries, maybe
Oh,
find a delimiter that says this is the start, this is the finish, and see if it can come in and say, suppose Kijo gave me 6 queries and they all do the same thing, but one of them is more efficient than the other. I want
so
it to be able
there's
to come in.
also I'm putting a link in the show here. KQL search. I don't know if anyone's actually used this. One of our awesome security MVPs has put together this resource. And if you go there, it used to be you just search for all the queries and he collected the queries from all the different GitHub repositories. But now he has chat GPT capability as well. So if you're looking for a query that doesn't exist in his search engine, it can create one. Now, chat GPT is not super great with KQL queries. So you're still going to have to work with it to make it work the way that you want to, because ChatGPT has no clue the different data tables that you have in your own environment, right? So it'll give you something that looks good, but it's not going to work with what you have in your environment. You have to do that yourself.
I think I sort of pivoted back to say instead of ChatGPT, I was going to use Azure OpenAI so I can control the data models in it, where it goes and look, right? So if it's hallucinating, it's because I put bad data in, either deliberately or indeliberately.
Yeah. Well, there's some other things you can adjust to make it a little more succinct, but yeah.
And we should have a show about security references for that. And we sort of talked about being able to control the amount of information by giving it better references rather than the raw data types that it's searching for LLMs. And we'll have another show about it. I'm not well versed enough, but I had a brainstorm as I was running the other day. So I said, hey, what if we can do this? So we have about 10 minutes left in the show. So we've been talking about KQL, and then we'll go somewhere else, and we'll come back in and we'll go somewhere else. Can you recommend a cool tool that you use that you go to?
The tool is like
Anything.
anything. Okay. Yeah, I would say first, just raw talk about the KQL search. I really recommend the KQL search. It's quite good because when you try to look for some suspicious, specific activity, you can type in and it's to pop up to some the queries that some people already done. So I really recommend using that. Actually, I use that once a week. My query also was in the one of the kind of the resource here, but I think I changed. But recently I remember that there should be version 2. So version 2, it's included the number of the query than first version 1. So I really recommend using a KQL search, especially to look for some specific query. You don't need to look at the visit the different people's GitHub. It's really combined all amazing queries here. So I can recommend the tool.
I searched for one of yours on your GitHub repo, and then there it is. It just popped right up in KQL search. That's yours.
Yes, it's mine. I think it might change because I changed. Oh, still there. Nice. Because I already done the changing the repository specifically KQL. So
I got you.
I don't know how it takes. Oh, nice. Thank you so much. Yeah. So I recommend the first this KQL search. The other one is like to I think most of the people, I personally, when I talk with number of the people, they're more looking for the contents to learn the KQO, because KQO is quite new for the people. Not, it's like crystal clear language. So in this case, I recommend as a tool first is the KQO Masterland. I would say this is really helpful, to be honest. Because it's really good. It's give the not just the syntax with example. So I look at some of the operator I have quite difficulty to understand. So I definitely look at the KQO Masterland. The other one is like a KC7. KC7 is also quite a great tool. That I would say the place to learn the KQO, because not just learning the KQO syntax, they are offering the KQO learning path with the real experience, like they're one of the SOC team and then try to resolve some real incidents. So it's quite a more gaming feeling for me. It's like not really, I didn't feel like I'm learning the KQO. It's super interesting. And also just before, I think Rod, you showed that the Custo Detective Agency, also the KC7 also working on it with that. So it's when I try the last Custo Detective Agency, I don't feel like I'm really, playing the Custo Detective Agency. It's like really mixing with like KC7, because I already experienced KC7. Like, is it a KC7? Like, oh yeah, it is. Like, it is written KC7. Like,
Yeah.
this is the feeling. Like, it's quite interesting. So you can learn more interactively. But again, I would say fundamental is so important. That's why, like, for the people still looking for the KQO learning as the basic, I recommend the KQO Master Learn, or maybe they should look at the the some learning path for the KQO. I really recommend that tool.
Well, and I think the important thing there is you highlighted resources that give you hands-on, because it's one thing to read something. If I'm sitting there reading, I'm doing 10 things, I'm not going to retain any of it. But if I have to focus and stick my hands on the keyboard, I'm going to remember that. So.
Yeah, and everybody's learning methodology. Like I said, definitely I use Rob's publication and Rob's project of Must Learn KQL, because prior to me meeting you, my first iteration of it was working with it. I was thrust into it, and I believe at the time Pluralsight had one called KQL from scratch. It was free, and it just wasn't well maintained. Right, the demo lab stopped spinning up in the background where you couldn't use it, and then you wrote yours. But I'm a person that I need a resultant of my effort. Studying for the sake of studying and not seeing anything to come out of it. I'm like, yeah, I don't get it. And so we got KC7, Kilo Charlie 7. We have KQL search. We have must learn KQL. Let's go for one more. Anybody else have a tool? We'll listen to our guests. If any of our guests have a source that they recommend, doesn't our prior guest on the show, a friend of the show, Max Zorich, have something? What was his outside of the book? He has something.
He does have his own repository. That's all collected through KQL search as well, so you can find his stuff on there too. Okay. We do have an MS Press book coming out in April for KQL.
Sure they do. I'll tell you someone else that has a good presence in learning, which is he's over in the UK. He used to be on the team with me at Microsoft. Was Clive? Was it Clive? Clive is pretty good too. What's his last name? Is it Bake?
Watson.
Clive Watson. Maybe throw his name in there for those who are looking to follow someone on LinkedIn and his Git.
And he answers everything on LinkedIn. So go ahead and ask him all the
questions. Yes, you ask him. He loves it. He especially loves it.
He's at Quorum Cyber now, by the way.
He's been there for a minute.
Oh, a long time.
Yep. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he left Microsoft, went over there, so he's doing good things. So that's a good 4. To round it out, Must Learn KQL. We'll just give reference to Rod Trent, KQL search, KC7, and then a person that goes along with it is Clive. One more time, his last name.
Watson.
Clive Watson.
Elementary, my dear Watson.
Yeah. Elementary.
Hey, Kijo, what is your favorite KQL operator?
Operator. Oh, it's a really difficult question.
Never been asked that before.
I would say I would say the most kind of mm, the query I mean the operator I depend on nowadays is makes I think make list. Yeah, make
Oh,
list or make set is the most I use because I have a bit my style for the query is like a if you guys look at my old queries, all most commonly use a make list because I try to list it the whole device. Let's say you want to see that there's some detection for the antivirus. I use the make set and then just detect list it up the whole device, and each device it's listed up what's time, which the file was detected, what's the malware family. It's really listing it, and if you don't want to show the duplicated the data, you can just make a set. It's super useful, and since then I keep using that the make list make set. That's the yeah,
Mhm.
I think most I would say favorite. Yeah, because I always depend on this operator. Yeah, or maybe there's some visual related. Some after use the render. Render is the
yeah,
most.
render definitely.
I
Yeah,
like
I would say the
render,
two operators.
render, project for me, and union.
Oh,
So I'm
Union.
stupid. I'm silly and stupid. Um, if they happen to ever get rid of, and it's super inefficient, and I apologize for this ahead of time, but search. That's the only thing I need.
Oh yeah, but I
Dude,
understand.
I have probably crashed a KQL backend cluster
Yeah,
unless they put a limiter.
most likely, but it's fun. Yeah,
You type in search equal open quote and put in the word the close
there you
it.
go.
I
And it
would
just
say
it's not,
I would say the search is most. I mean, the taking so much time, but I would say to really use it also. In the beginning, just yesterday, I was simulating the macOS gatekeeper stuff to install some suspicious application, and in order to successfully install, I had to delete some attribute in each the application. It's really macOS side, but I used some certain command to delete it, and after I wanted to track this activity, and then what I used first was I didn't use even make set anything at all, even project nothing. I use search. I put the command I executed in macOS like XATTR like.
Yeah.
So I would say I didn't
well,
notice, but I use the search every day.
Well, here's a tip to that Sans Detective Cousteau thing. You can pretty much use search the whole every every step of the case except for the last one. So there's a way
That's
to
true.
yeah.
the problem is yeah it'll eat your system. They have limiters in now, right? If they see that as the first operator that runs off, won't they limit the results with a hundred
Well,
thousand
it'll
rows?
yell at you. It knows if it's going to take a certain. It's not. It used to be records, but now it's time because
Yep.
there's latency and there's things that go on in the cloud that nobody can account for, and so it knows that it's going to return the results in a lengthy period of time. So it will yell at you.
They should put a intelligence to limit it without an additional operator to bring some type of guardrails into it. But then again, it's cloud power, so if it runs, I know that logarithm won't allow you to run search like that. In
Well,
the,
considering what
I'm
logarithm,
sorry, I'm sorry, Q radar.
well, considering what I was going to say, logarithm or curator, considering what their query language is, that's obvious. It would never come
Yeah,
back. Yeah.
no, yeah, your drives would spin to perpetuity and fall out of the chassis. Even if it was in the cloud, right? But sir, I want to say thank you so much for coming on, taking time out early morning. I can appreciate the effort when I was staying over there, having to get used to the time getting up before everybody else, right, to make something.
Thank you so
Claudius
much.
put the Kuso detectives should really just disable the search function. Yes.
They've literally
Yeah.
hampered 90% of my skill. There you go.
Yeah. Enable me. So, sir, we'll let you have the closing remarks. And if not, we'll go ahead and close the show out. I would like to say, Amagata gozaimasu for all the effort that came in. And thanks for all our listeners coming on. Next week, the Christmas edition.
Oh,
Come on to the show.
It's gonna be glorious. Oh,
Let's see if I can grow a full white beard and a full head of gray hair.
I have my Santa hat. I'm wearing my Santa hat next week. So.
I have my Santa hat ready. It's a requirement if you're coming onto the show or listening to the show. You got to have your hat on, right? Yeah. We may give away a prize. Santa Claus delivered something nice to me in the mail. My wife told me today.
Well, we got the.
Look at the book.
It's up to number 10 in cloud computing today, by the way. So we'll give some of those away.
Yeah, next week. I could use one.
I think I definitely need to take it.
I do that. So, and all the proceeds
go to St. Jude Children's Hospital. Yeah,
St. Jude's Children's Hospital. I've been a big supporter for 10 plus years. Little known fact: I used to sit on their external advisory board. I used to make trips to Memphis all the time to go to the actual facility. Long time ago. So everyone, thanks for coming on to the show on this sort of chaotic internet strong with errors Wednesday, but we really appreciate our guests. Don't be a stranger, sir. Please listen to the show, leave comments. We'll find Frank because we need someone to moderate Twitch. And he loves Twitch. His son's a big gamer, right? So he loves Twitch. Big shout out to his son, who's a super engineer developer at Micron who just kills it, right? The chip maker. So he's doing really good stuff. All right, everyone.
All right. Talk to y'all next week.
Bye.